What's going on, everybody? It's Trifecta J here. Today we have the edited off-season of the South Dakota Dynasty for Season 1. If you want to watch the full thing, it's an hour and a half and it's up on my channel. I'll have a link for it in the description down below. But we're going to go ahead and get right into the off-season. The first season was a disappointing record, but was expected as well. It was 1-11. Only went in the first game of the season, so we're coming off an 11-game losing streak, and we'll have to see if we're able to end that. So you can see to start off, both of the coordinators are fired. Lance Leipold, former multiple national championship D3 coach and head coach of the Buffalo Bulls, is our new offensive coordinator, and Zach Spavital from Texas State, we saw them last year, will be our new defensive coordinator. For North Dakota State, all of their staff does return. However, for North Dakota, they have a big shakeup. Their entire coaching staff is gone, and they went out, somehow lured away Tony Elliott from Clemson, and he'll be their new head coach, and we'll have to see if he's able to bring a new sort of fire for that North Dakota program. We move on to the graduations and players leaving. No transfers, but a number of seniors will be leaving, including a few starters. Pedro Chiquetti, Mac DeGene, Nick Kreutzberg, Dylan Huggins is the backup right tackle, and then Toby Cota, who started at middle linebacker for us last year. So a number of players who will be moving on, but we got some guys to replace them and current depth on the roster. South Dakota State has one guy leaving. He is transferring to Missouri, and then the rest are seniors, including Keith Burge, Adam Allen, who we saw in the final game of the season. For North Dakota State, they have two guys actually going to the NFL, and it's two offensive linemen. One's a sophomore declaring, and he's going to go in the 5th round, it appears, and then their right guard, Austin Morkin, will be going in the 7th round. They lose their entire defensive line, their number 1 receiver as well. North Dakota actually has one guy who attempted to transfer for us, didn't have room though, but outside of that, they have a few different guys graduating. A lot of their talent does return. The biggest loss is probably Jameel Barber at cornerback and Hawthorne at linebacker. Of course, no players drafted. That's 100% expected. But Lance Leipold offers us a huge upgrade at offensive coordinator. He's going to help our quarterback, receivers, and running backs out with the upgrades that he provides. And hopefully that can add a little more spark to our offense, and we'll be able to be a little more consistent in year 2, I should say. Our recruiting class is currently ranked 124th. We had 12 commits and only 12 open spots. So the recruiting class was full entering signing day. You can see all the players currently committed. We had 5 2-stars and 7 1-stars. And we'll get a look at some of those players real quick right here. Bo Weaver, the number 1 player in the class from North Dakota. He is an absolute stud. And then the rest of the guys, there was no one that really was super worth going for either, so it made it a lot easier that our recruiting class was already full. We only had 21 prospects available to us based on the restrictions in year 1. We go through to signing day and get a walk-on commit from Gerald Mason, a 42 overall outside linebacker. He was the last guy on our board the entire season, and he decided he wanted to at least try out for the South Dakota Coyotes. You can see the real tight geographic net that we were targeting. It was out of South Dakota, North Dakota, and all the border states for South Dakota as well. We end up with the 124th recruiting class, end up with 6 walk-ons, and had a better class than Utah State and Akron, so at least it's good to say with the size of the class we had, we weren't in last place, and we definitely have a lot of room for improvement. Notre Dame ends up with the number 3 recruiting class, only 18 prospects. They recruit 6 5-star prospects, including 3 receivers, a 4-star receiver, and 2 5-star corners. South Dakota puts together a nice recruiting class with 2 4-stars at receiver and defensive end. They have the number 141 recruiting class. North Dakota State at number 45 with 2 4-stars as well. An athlete who looks to be playing halfback and then a defensive end. And it appears they definitely added some nice depth throughout their entire roster as well. We'll move forward now to North Dakota, and we'll get a look at their recruiting classes. They finish at number 54th. No 4-star prospects for them, but a ton of 3-stars. and they'll probably add some impact true freshman starters from this class, as there's a decent amount of talent. Running back could be a big need along with corner with Jameel Barber graduating. Now looking at the 5-star prospects who committed, the number 2 prospect ends up actually going to South Carolina. Arizona, the defending national champion, gets the number 1 tight end and number 3 prospect overall. We see Minnesota, South Florida, and Texas Tech all pick up a 5-star prospect. NC State with one there. Oklahoma, South Carolina, Notre Dame all picked up a few as well, with Alabama with a couple. Now we look at the top prospects from North Dakota, as Daquan Perkins ends up at Idaho. Stephon Gregory, a big defensive end, actually ends up going nowhere. Dennis Burkhart was a tight battle between North Dakota and North Dakota State, and he actually ends up at North Dakota. Definitely was surprised by that, and he could be an impact player for them. Kyrie Bailey ends up at Idaho. Idaho may be a future opponent for us with all the players they're getting out of the Dakotas, and then a 3-star tackle goes to UTSA. 2 tight ends from South Dakota, both commit to Wyoming and Air Force respectively, but I feel like we probably got the better prospect in Cordell Hicks out of North Dakota. Steven Murawski, he ends up at Utah. A few players ended up going to Utah from the Dakotas as well. So now we look at LaDorian Bolden and the position changes. We're going to move him to fullback. He is a pretty big running back at 218 pounds, but we graduated David Moen, and we just needed to put someone there. Now the next one is going to be Francois Locany, and he is the 4th tight end and probably will never play in his career, so we're going to just move him to defensive end. We need a little more depth there, and he adds some size. And then the final position change will be LaDorian McCray, a strong safety. He's a little undersized, but we are going to actually end up moving him to middle linebacker. We'll have to see if he plays in year 1. We now have 5 players in the 70s overall, including Bo Weaver, a true freshman, 2 on offense, and then 2 special teamers. Jalen Page, J.R. Miller all get a nice boost. Look at the upgrades for the quarterbacks. They all get +1 to throw power, and then +4 for Ezekiel Wood and Corbin Brady. They all got decent boosts, and we'll have to see how much J.R. Miller improves in his redshirt sophomore season. Now we'll move forward to the running back position. +4s across the board. Jalen Page up to a 66 overall, gets a little faster, along with Pierce Libby and Trenton Clemmer getting a little faster as well. Jalen Page has the best break tackle, trucking, and elusiveness out of all our running back, but Pierce Libby has a little more raw speed. And Jalen Page also adds some nice ability to catch the ball in the backfield. But 80 spin and 80 juke, nothing to really laugh at. Decent ratings there. Then at receiver, we return everyone. As you can see, Deontay Knox, Nate Went, Richie Campbell, and Deion Gilbert are currently the top 4, along with Delvonte Bell and Mike Algram. We'll get a look at some of these players in the practice later in this episode, and there was about 45 minutes of practice in that off-season stream as well. One guy to keep an eye on is Jacoby Patton. He's only a redshirt freshman, and with a lot of upperclassmen ahead of him, you may see him make an impact in the next couple of years. Best hands on the team goes to Deontay Knox, and Deion Gilbert is in second with a 74 overall. At tight end, it's +4s across the board. Tate Wagner will most likely stay as the number 1 tight end. He's the best blocker, receiver, threat combination that we have. Cordell Hicks, though, should see a ton of playing time as a true freshman. We moved a couple of tackles over, and it appears that Heath Nimke will be the starter. Noah Butler has a chance. He will enter as a true freshman, but ratings-wise, Nimke was just a little better than Liam Hennessy. At left guard, we have Noah Johnston, a junior college transfer coming in, and most likely he'll be the starter there. Devin Martin and Jack Sternberg will continue their battle. I feel like Martin has better size, and that'll probably earn him the week 1 start for us. He's a little stronger as well. Now at right guard, as we move forward, it definitely will be an interesting battle there. Brendan Groenhagen was the starter last year and will be the starter this year as well. Gets a nice +6 boost, and he's definitely going to have to improve in his run blocking. He was consistently getting blown off the ball along with Jack Sternberg. Gets a little bit better at run blocking. Pass blocking gets better as well. And then the backup right tackles who will be backing up Bo Weaver, both just continuing to develop, a junior and a redshirt freshman. Now on the defensive side of the ball, Shado Hansen is back at left end, and hopefully he can be a little more impactful, along with our whole defensive line being more impactful. He's got some decent all-around ratings in terms of power move, finesse move, and block shedding. Just needs to be a little more consistent along with our whole defensive line. Javon Miller will be the new starter at right end as Nick Kreutzberg graduates. He is a big body at 6'7", I believe he's around 255. He's decent strength, and Scott Bruniger will be the other right end. We may see a nice rotation with them as they both have some talent. Better finesse move by far though, and block shedding for Javon Miller, and he'll definitely be the go-to guy at right end. Then at defensive tackle, looking for a little more interior pressure, we lost our starting and third string defensive tackle. So Pedro Martels and Zacharias Tedesi will be the new 1 and 2 there, and Martels definitely flashed last year. Then at left outside linebacker, Sylvia Widenar will stay as the starter. He gets a nice +4, with Terrell Rice getting a +5. Widenar basically just an athlete at the linebacker position. Rakeem Hood, Preston Pratt, and LaDorian McCray will be fighting it out for the middle linebacker spot. Rakeem Hood is the best athlete there and is the best tackler and coverage. Just doesn't hit quite as well and shed blocks quite as well as some of the other guys. Then Jay Schmidt and Kelly Sprinkle are there, but Jackson Harvey, the true freshman, most likely will be the day one starter for right outside linebacker. Number of different ratings went up for them though. I like Kelly Sprinkle's potential as a redshirt sophomore. I think as maybe a junior or senior, he could definitely see the field. DeGene graduates at corner, but Jeremiah Glover, Xavier Warner, and Jax Montgomery all will be back. A couple of seniors and a junior there. We're going to have to recruit some corners to really make up the depth that we're losing at that position. But you can see some of the coverage ratings. Decent across the board here. Nothing that I'm too upset about playing at all. Then Ross Bukowski and Bryson Williams will be back at the safety spots. Bukowski, not a big guy, but he can absolutely lay the wood. His coverage ratings get a little better. His pursuit's very good. And hopefully he can have a strong sophomore season. Then at strong safety, we have Bryson Williams and Briar Darby, both seniors, as Williams gets the +6. That was definitely big. He gets faster, stronger, more agile, and more aware as well. So we move forward to cutting players. Now there were, I believe, 6 spots that needed to be cut, and it wasn't the most difficult thing. We had 6 walk-ons actually on the roster, so we were able to go through this pretty quickly. Greg Motley, he's worse than most of the guys that we recruited, in my opinion. Chris Cooper, a junior college guy, would prefer to have freshmen or the current guys on the roster starting. Mason does not end up making the roster. Then down to the last 2 spots, it was tough, but we had 2 walk-ons here and just did not have room for them with the rules and restrictions that I have in place. So a quarterback, Chris Cobbs, and Marcus Alston both get cut. Would love to have them, but just did not have the room. Now we see a shakeup in the Mountain West as North Dakota State and South Dakota State will make the jump to the Mountain West Conference, and there is 1 spot left, so we'll have to see after season 2 if maybe another team from the Dakotas is able to make that jump. We look at the season 2 schedule, open with UTEP, then on the road for Kansas, then against Air Force, Missouri, Utah State, North Dakota State, Washington, Northwestern, South Dakota State, and we'll end our season on the road at North Dakota. A look at the red shirts. One of the toughest calls was Dontavius Knight, and I just think as maybe the 2nd or 3rd running back, I would rather have an extra year of eligibility and have him get better and be better in the future than waste his first year as a freshman. Same thing sort of with Butler, as he probably could have started, but I would rather see him develop and just give a chance for a senior to start. LaDorian McCray, same position. Would rather have these guys around for 4 years after this year so they can make a bigger impact. And the same thing goes for Eric Sikowski. I'd rather plan for the future than waste their first year where they may not play full time. A lot of the offense and defense will look pretty similar. Quarterback, running back, and wide receiver are very similar. However, Cooper Price and true freshman tight end Cordell Hicks are listed in the top 4. I'm very excited to see Cordell Hicks get on the field. Liam Hennessy will be starting at left tackle, Noah Johnston and Devin Martin at left guard and center, Brandon Groenhagen is back at right guard, and then Bo Weaver at right tackle. So a little bit of a shakeup along the offensive line. Defensive line sees a couple new starters. The linebacking core stays similar, except Jackson Harvey is now a starter. And then no Mac DeJeane, so Jax Montgomery will move into the nickel position. And then our safeties stay the same. May see a little difference in the format or formations of our defense, though, to get some different guys on the field. But now that we're into a little bit of practice, we're really just going to talk about the outlook for Season 2. We return a ton of different players. A big thing is, for most positions, we return someone. We may see some new faces, but that's basically just because there's more talent available to us now. At quarterback, J.R. Miller returns, Jalen Page, Pierce Libby, and Trenton Klemper are all back at running back. Then at receiver, everyone returns, but we do add Cooper Price as the number 2 receiver, along with Cordell Hicks as a different option as a bigger body at wide receiver as well. Same thing sort of goes with tight end. Tate Wagner's back, but then we add Cordell Hicks. Along the offensive line, we have Heath Nimke, who is now starting at left tackle. Then we have Noah Johnston, who's new. We have Bo Weaver at right tackle, and then a couple of returning starters at center and left guard. Or right guard, I should say. Along the defensive side of the ball, left end's back. We do have some guys to replace at defensive tackle and right end. Linebacker is similar. I feel like it's an upgrade on Jackson Harvey over Toby Cota, so that's definitely a good thing to see. Mac DeJeane will be a big loss. He was our quickest corner, but Jax Montgomery, who will be the new nickel, he played really, really well in this practice, so I'm very excited for him in his senior season. So that he'll definitely be one guy to keep an eye on, and then at safety, return everyone. So a big thing now is we've seen this team play one season, and this year it's just going to be about constant improvement. We have a new offensive coordinator who hopefully can provide some consistency to our offense. I'm not quite sure what I think a reasonable expectation in terms of wins are, but the biggest thing I would like to see is our defense giving up less points than they did last year, less rushing yards, and then on the offensive side of the ball, more total offense, but a bigger thing is just more consistent drives and doing a better job of taking care of the football. Because I feel like if we take care of the football better and we're able to just end some of our drives that we had last year with points, then our scoring total would have gone up a lot. And I think now with more talent and a new offensive coordinator providing a lot of great boosts, it'll definitely be easier to do that. But in terms of some different positions that I want to talk about at running back, I think you could see a similar split that you had last year. Jalen Page and Pierce Libby splitting carries with Trenton Klemper coming in getting some carries as well, especially he's a senior and I would like to get him the ball a decent amount this season. At receiver, I would expect to see Deontay Knox and Cooper Price as the number 1 and 2, but outside of that, at the other wide receiver positions, I could see a ton of different guys making an impact. I believe we have around 7 or 8 different players who I think could see time at receiver, and they're all upperclassmen outside of Deontay Knox. So that'll definitely be fun. Mike Algrim is one guy to keep an eye on, as he had a great practice and was making a lot of big plays. He's only 5'7", but he was making plays in traffic and could be another option at the slot receiver. Richie Campbell, who we saw a little bit last year. Deion Gilbert, who now may be our 5th receiver after being our 2nd leading receiver last year. And then a number of other guys as well. At tight end, like I said, it's going to be Tate Wagner and Cordell Hicks. Along the defensive side of the ball, I think you'll see a lot of different formations. I think you'll see more 3 safety. We don't really have the depth anymore at quarterback to run a dime that I would feel comfortable with. So I think you could see a number of different 3 safety looks, maybe some 3 quarterback, 3 safety looks as well. And also formations, we have a number of talented linebackers now, and I'd like to be able to get them all on the field. And a place we don't have a ton of depth is at defensive tackle. So we'll just have to find a way to really combat that. But now that we've talked about the team, we'll get a little bit of a preview for Season 2. We will open the season at home against UTEP. This is a team that's not super talented. They lose their starting quarterback, Kyle Loxley, but have a very talented running back who also led them in receiving last year. And you can see our full schedule, another look at it there. Only currently one ranked team on our schedule, and that's Washington at number 10. Georgia opens the season at number 1, UCF at number 12, and then there's one other team to keep an eye on who is just outside of the top 25, Notre Dame at number 25, and then at number 30 to open the season, it's North Dakota State. People saw the year they had last year at 9-4, and a look at their schedule, they actually in week 3 have a game week at number 6, Alabama. North Carolina comes to the Fargo Dome. And then North Dakota, I don't know what they were thinking with their schedule. They play 4 different ranked teams, all on the road. Texas Tech is a tough team as well. Hawaii, Pitt, Western Michigan. I could see another win this season for them. And then South Dakota State, they play ULM, Oregon State, an FCS team, and then us out of conference before getting into Mountain West play. UTEP, I should say, they have a ton of offensive skill position talent, 3 running backs, 3 receivers, a number of talented corners, and then a nice offensive lineman. So it would be an interesting game to see how we fare and seeing these new players make their debuts for us. A little look at our current recruiting board. We have cornerback Deion Kendrick as our number 1 player on our board. With 2 corners graduating this year, he is a guy that we really need to get and most likely will start as a true freshman. At outside linebacker from Nebraska, we have 6'6", 236, so a big body, decent athlete, and that's Deion Perkins, who could definitely develop into something that's nice. Jamie Landry will probably be a day 1 starter for us if we're able to get him. He was a +9 1-star prospect, decent athlete, great pass blocker. Then Tevin Robinson, I'm not quite sure what his role would be. He's very slow for a linebacker, but he can tackle, rush the passer, and cover a little bit. So I think for him, it'll be just about finding a position for him where he can really succeed. And then one more guy that we'll take a look at, Terrence Mitchell. He's the fastest corner that we've recruited and has decent man coverage. We'll definitely have to develop, and hopefully we can give him time. Just with the number of cornerbacks that we'll have leaving in the next couple of years, he may have to play very early on. A number of guys on here that I'm definitely interested in, just trying to figure out this board a little bit better. We have 35 prospects available to us this year, a number of lower rated guys, a lot of 1-star prospects, but I think it has the potential to be another nice class. But I hope you did enjoy the edited offseason here today. If you did, please leave a like down below. Make sure to subscribe for more of the South Dakota Dynasty. It's gonna, to me, just keep getting better as we move on and get more competitive games as this team gets better. Leave a comment down below on which players that you're most excited to see, who will be making their debuts, or maybe who didn't play a ton last year. And just in general, which players are you most excited for in Season 2 and who could have a breakout season for us? And then along with that, which of the recruits that you've seen so far, there was only about 5 guys, so I really went in depth right there. But which of them are you most excited for? But like I said, I hope you did enjoy. I'll see you next time for Week 1 against UTEP. Have a great rest of your day.